This show is part of OnePlace, a daily network of focused briefings across the stories people follow most.
Welcome to our daily roundup. We are diving into the latest headlines from across the nation to keep you informed on the stories that matter most right now. Let's get started.
A second missing doctoral student's body was found in Tampa.
A West Virginia mother confessed to killing her young daughter.
A Texas father faces murder charges for his infant's death.
A Georgia man allegedly attacked his pregnant girlfriend in April.
A Florida man charged beachgoers while wielding a power drill.
An Ohio cold case is solved after 24 long years.
New gruesome details emerge in the Tampa Bay murder investigation.
An SNL writer seeks answers about his missing sister's case.
Starting in Florida today.
The search for two missing University of South Florida doctoral students has come to a tragic conclusion. The Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office recently identified human remains found in Tampa Bay as those of 27-year-old Nahida Bristi. This follows the discovery of her peer, Zamil Limon, whose body was found in plastic bags on the Howard Franklin Bridge just last week. Both students were last seen on April 16, and the community had been holding out hope for their safe return. Sheriff Chad Chronister explained that while the condition of the remains was difficult, investigators used DNA, dental records, and the clothing she was wearing to confirm her identity. It is a heartbreaking end for two young scholars who had their entire futures ahead of them in the academic world.
The investigation has led to the arrest of Limon's roommate, 26-year-old Hisham Abu Garbieh. He is now facing 2 counts of first-degree murder along with several other serious charges, including false imprisonment and tampering with evidence. What makes this case even more chilling are the digital footprints Abu Garbieh allegedly left behind. Court documents suggest he used ChatGPT to ask how to dispose of a body and searched online to see if a knife could penetrate a skull or if neighbors could hear a gunshot. His own family had previously warned police about his erratic behavior, including claims that he would scream in the night about being a deity. This level of premeditation and the gruesome nature of the crimes have left the Tampa area in total shock as the legal process begins.
Now to West Virginia.
In a case that has haunted Summers County for nearly 2 years, a mother has finally admitted to the unthinkable. Rebecca Weikla pleaded guilty to first-degree murder and child abuse resulting in death for the July 2022 killing of her 4-year-old daughter, Haley. For a long time, Weikla tried to shift the blame onto her husband, but the truth eventually came out. Prosecutors revealed that Weikla had developed a deep-seated resentment and jealousy toward her own daughter. This jealousy led her to conduct disturbing online searches about harming others and specific knife wounds just weeks before the attack. The details provided by the prosecution describe a calculated and cold-blooded act that took place while the rest of the family was sleeping, shattering the image of a normal household in their small community.
The specifics of that night are truly harrowing. After the family had dinner and the father went to sleep, Rebecca allegedly retrieved a kitchen knife and followed Haley into her bedroom. She muffled the child's cries with a pillow before committing the act. Even more disturbing is that she reportedly hid the evidence and then acted as if nothing had happened, even engaging with her husband before he woke up to find their daughter. Weikla has been sentenced to life in prison, though she will be eligible for parole after serving 30 years. The local prosecutor, Chris Leffler, noted that this guilty plea finally brings some measure of peace to the memory of the little girl. It is a somber resolution to a case that exposed the darkest possible side of a parental relationship.
Moving to Texas now.
In Harris County, a father named Christopher Leon Jenkins is facing capital murder charges following the death of his 7-week-old son. The incident began in July when authorities responded to a call about an infant who wasn't breathing. Paramedics found the baby with no pulse and signs of severe trauma. Jenkins initially offered several conflicting stories to investigators, claiming at first that he just found the baby unresponsive after stepping out for a cigarette. He later changed his story to say he dropped the child during a feeding, and then again claimed he dropped him after a bath. However, the medical evidence of a brain bleed and cardiac arrest suggested something much more violent than a simple accident. The baby tragically passed away in the hospital just 7 days after the initial emergency call.
The case took a definitive turn when police used a specialized doll to have Jenkins demonstrate how he handled the infant. During this demonstration, Jenkins allegedly threw the doll onto a couch and a bed, telling officers that is how the baby bounced and rolled under furniture. He reportedly admitted that the baby had been crying a lot and that something in his mind just clicked. This admission of losing control due to the infant's crying is a central part of the prosecution's case. Jenkins is currently being held on a $2 million bond while his defense attorney promises a vigorous defense in court. It serves as a grim reminder of the extreme pressures of newborn care and the tragic consequences when that pressure leads to violence against the most vulnerable members of society.
Next to Georgia.
An 18-year-old in Houston County, Georgia, is behind bars after a series of violent altercations with his pregnant girlfriend. Lucas Hayden faces charges of aggravated assault, kidnapping, and criminal damage to property. The incident, which took place in April, reportedly began with a verbal dispute that escalated rapidly. According to police reports, the girlfriend Jadia Smith allegedly tried to run Hayden over with her car multiple times after he took her phone. Hayden then allegedly forced her out of the vehicle, took her keys, and locked her out of her own home. While both individuals were eventually arrested for their roles in the initial fight, the charges against Hayden became much more severe due to what happened once they were back inside the residence. The situation devolved into a terrifying display of domestic violence.
Once inside the house, the conflict moved to the kitchen and then the bedroom. Police say Hayden dragged Smith into the room and kicked her in the stomach, despite her being 5 months pregnant. During the assault, he allegedly made the horrifying statement that he needed to kill the baby. He also reportedly attempted to choke her, using her own leggings and his arm. This level of targeted violence against a pregnant partner has shocked the local community of Warner Robins. While Smith is no longer in custody, Hayden remains detained without bond. This case highlights the dangerous intersection of domestic disputes and the specific risks faced by pregnant women. Investigators are continuing to gather evidence as the legal proceedings move forward, focusing on the intent behind the physical trauma inflicted during the struggle.
Back to Florida now.
A bizarre and frightening scene unfolded on a beach in Surfside, Florida, when a man allegedly attacked beachgoers with a power drill. 50-year-old Yakov Levi was reportedly triggered after being told he couldn't sit on a beach chair because he wasn't a resident of the nearby condominium complex. Witnesses say Levi became irate, first swinging a beach umbrella at people before grabbing a large drill with a sand-digging bit attached. He allegedly charged at several individuals while shouting death threats. The sight of a man running across the sand with a power tool caused immediate panic among the families and tourists enjoying the day. Police were called to the scene and found Levi sitting in a chair, still holding the drill, which he had used to damage the very furniture he was told he couldn't use.
The arrest was caught on body camera, showing officers ordering Levi to the ground at taser point. He now faces felony charges of attempted aggravated battery and battery on a law enforcement officer, along with criminal mischief. Interestingly, this isn't Levi's first run-in with the law on this specific beach. Records show he was arrested last year for allegedly trying to steal a jet ski while completely naked, though that case was eventually dropped. This latest incident has raised concerns about beach safety and the unpredictable nature of public confrontations. The drill itself was described as being several feet long with its attachment, making it a formidable weapon in a crowded public space. Levi made his first court appearance recently, and the community is left wondering how a simple dispute over a chair could escalate so dangerously.
Now to Ohio.
A cold case from 2001 has finally seen a major breakthrough in Ohio. For 24 years, the death of Regina Hicks remained a mystery after her body was found inside her submerged Chevrolet Camaro in a pond. Regina had disappeared after leaving her boyfriend's house to pick up her son, but she never arrived. Her estranged husband, Paul Hicks, was a person of interest from the start, especially since their marriage was known to be violent and turbulent. However, there wasn't enough evidence to charge him at the time. Paul eventually moved on, and even got involved in other criminal activities, including a bizarre insurance fraud scheme where he staged a house fire. It wasn't until the Ohio Bureau of Investigation took a fresh look at the case that the pieces finally started to fall into place for the family.
The breakthrough came when investigators re-interviewed Paul's best friend, Steve Gates. Under an immunity agreement, Gates admitted that he saw Regina unconscious after an argument with Paul on the night she vanished. He claimed Paul told him she was dead, and then watched as Paul drove her car into the pond to hide the evidence. This testimony was the key that prosecutors needed. Paul Hicks was arrested and eventually convicted of murder and kidnapping. For Regina's family, who described her as a happy person who became small during her marriage to Paul, this conviction brings a long-awaited sense of justice. It proves that even after decades, new investigative techniques, and the willingness of witnesses to come forward, can solve the most difficult cases. The 24-year secret is finally out, and Paul Hicks is facing the consequences.
Returning to Tampa.
We are learning more about the truly gruesome details in the murders of the 2 USF doctoral students we mentioned earlier. Sheriff Chad Chronister provided a graphic update on the condition of Zamel Limon's body, noting that he had been bound at the hands and ankles and nearly severed in a way that allowed him to be stuffed into a trash bag. The sheriff described the scene as Limon being left on the side of the highway like a piece of trash. The second victim, Nahida Bristi, was found by kayakers who noticed a terrible smell in a bag snagged on a fishing line. The level of violence described by investigators suggests a deeply disturbed motive, though prosecutors admit they still haven't pinpointed exactly why these 2 students were targeted by their roommate, Hisham Abu Gharbia.
Abu Gharbia has pleaded not guilty, but the evidence against him continues to mount. Beyond the digital searches for murder methods, he also had a deep cut on his arm that required stitches, which he couldn't explain to police. Investigators noted that while he was talkative about himself, he became elusive and deceptive the moment the victims were mentioned. The community is struggling to process how such a violent act could occur between roommates in a university setting. Friends of the victims had actually reported them missing very quickly, which helped police zero in on the suspect early in the process. As the case moves toward trial, the focus remains on the sheer brutality of the crimes and the digital trail that may prove to be the most damning evidence against the defendant in this tragic double homicide.
Finally, to Los Angeles.
The disappearance of Christina Lynn Downer, the sister of SNL writer Jimmy Fowley, has taken a confusing and tragic turn. Fowley recently posted on social media that the LAPD informed his family that Christina is no longer alive and that the case was being treated as a homicide. However, the LAPD has since publicly denied this, stating that while the circumstances are suspicious, she has not been located, and the case is still officially a missing persons investigation. Christina was last seen in December in the Koreatown area of Los Angeles. She is 38 years old and was very attached to her dog Rex, who is also missing. Fowley has been using his platform to keep her face in the public eye, pleading for any information that might lead to her whereabouts or a resolution to the case.
The discrepancy between the family's understanding and the police department's public statement has added a layer of frustration to an already agonizing situation. Fowley noted that his sister has never gone off the grid like this before, and that her disappearance is completely out of character. He and his friends have been tirelessly posting flyers and searching the Koreatown area for months. The last time he heard from her was in late November, and a final text was sent from her phone on December 10. The Robbery-Homicide Division is now involved, which usually indicates a high level of concern regarding foul play. As the investigation continues, the family is left in a painful limbo, caught between the hope of finding her and the terrifying possibility that the worst has already happened. They continue to urge the public for help.
That wraps up our briefing for today. Thank you for joining us for these important updates. Be sure to follow the show for your next daily briefing on the stories that matter most.